we have some games we need to get talking about because this is
speaking of Riley,
massive week. And the Bills and the Bucks are kicking off this week, or should I say tipping off this week in the NFL.
You had it right for a change.
It's the first pitch.
The
first pitch
of the week here in this one. And we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers visiting the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo minus 8.5 in this one. Total set to 42.5. Money line, Tampa Bay plus 340, Buffalo minus 440. So let's dive into this one, Scotty. Now, my first instinct, especially from a betting standpoint, was to just jump in here and say Bills bounce back and take care of business. That's my first instinct of like, didn't look good. But then I think about their defense, and you're missing like so many playmakers. You got Daquan Jones, Tre'Davious White, Matt Milano. Everybody has like been just done. They're done. And so Jags and Pats took advantage of this defense. So I'm just thinking to myself, okay, the Bucks, Baker can move the ball a little bit. We've seen him do some of that. And so I can't get on either side of this from a betting standpoint. The biggest lean I have in this one, mainly, well, I mean, from a point standpoint, from just the spread, would probably lean Tampa Bay. Because I feel like the Bills are getting this many points, and who are the Bills to be giving up this many points, I should say. It's a lot of points. And so against a team that I think can score a little bit, primetime unders have been solid this season, going 16-7. So, if you're taking a look at like the primetime unders, it makes you feel like this is going to be a maybe lower scoring game. So you would take the points in that aspect, but this isn't one of my best bets of the week. Those are just some of my thoughts on this one.
Yeah, Johnny Gamble's put out there, here's a teaser play, which kind of obvious teaser play to tease the Bills down at 2.5. My issue with it and why I can't do it is I did that last week with the Bills against the Patriots, and that didn't go well. Yeah, so now, I mean, I'm starting to think like everyone's like, well, maybe this is a wake-up call for the Bills, but shouldn't the wake-up call been the prior week when you were a yard away from losing at home on Sunday night to the Giants?
Yeah.
That should have been a wake-up call. Then you're at New England and you're flat. They almost like come out of nowhere to pull it off, even though they were totally outplayed for the whole game, and then give up a late touchdown to New England off. New England looked like a real football team for the first time in weeks. So like, listen, obviously this is kind of 3 straight weeks that Buffalo, 4 weeks ago, they beat Miami, blew out Miami. They were on top of the world. Everyone was high on them. Then they lose in London to Jacksonville, barely squeak by against the Giants, and then lose to the Patriots. And at some point, you're like, can you trust this team?
Yeah.
Can you trust this team? I feel like they're eventually going to bounce out of this, but like, win? I don't know. And yeah, they should win this game. The Bucks can't score offensively, really. Obviously, the Bucks came out 2-0, winning against the Vikings and Bears, but since they're 1-3, and in their 3 losses, averaging 10 points per game in those losses, putting up 11, 6, and 13. It's just kind of gross. Like they don't have really an ability to score. And if Buffalo's right offensively, they should take care of business here. So I do think if you're playing this, the play is a tease on Buffalo, teasing them down to 2.5 and pairing them with somebody else. But I can't do it because I got a sour taste in my mouth from last week, them choking against, because I said they're going to beat the Patriots. 2.5 minus 2.5 is an easy one. And they lost outright.
No shot. Yeah, it was brutal. But yeah, I have trouble. And part of me is thinking like, this is almost feeling like a season that the Bills is just not going to be in the cards this year. And I just can't put them in a reliable situation where they're going to be competing against some of the best teams in the AFC. So
they certainly can on any given day, and we've seen that with the game against Miami. But I don't know if teams have scouted and figured out something to give them problems offensively where they haven't looked right recently. And defensively, in some games, in blowouts, they look great. In other games, they looked aged and slow. I think Milano, you mentioned Milano. I think Milano is a huge loss for that defense. He was kind of the leader of that defense at the linebacker spot and was a great player. Losing him was huge. So, and now, Von Miller coming back off his knee injury from last year, didn't play in the second half last week and then showed up on the injury report with knee stuff. So, is he ever going to be fully healthy, or can you rely on him for more than 15 snaps a game? I don't know.
Baker is undefeated against Josh Allen, by the way. Okay.
What is he 1-0?
Take whatever stat you got.
Or was it in college? Did Oklahoma beat Wyoming or something?
Probably something like that. So yeah, interesting one here though. What's crazy is you should feel really good about this Buffalo team, and it's just, they should win this game. If they lose this game, then it's the worry meter goes a little bit further up the scale based off of everything that we've been seeing from them.
Oh, they lose this game at home. Yeah, it's
bad.
Sirens are going off in Buffalo. Well, and maybe that's a bad thing. Like sirens, you think of ambulances or something. Maybe not sirens. Just some sort of alert that things are going wrong.
Baker is undefeated against trick-or-treaters. Okay. Yeah. All right. Next up, we have the Bengals and the 49ers. Now, Scotty, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this is one of your best bets of the week. And
yeah.
And now that we have the news of Brock Purdy,
I know the line is no longer what it was. It's only moved 2 points. I think it's at 3.5 now.
2 points.
So the spread as of before this was kind of circulating throughout the media was San Francisco minus 5.5. Total set at 45. Now, we've had issues with the Bengals. Cincinnati's coming off a bye, by the way. Defenses, and this is a weird one for me because, when I was first looking at this one, I felt like defenses have found something against San Francisco, right? I feel like over the last couple weeks, I feel like we've been kind of talking about how at some point Purdy's going to come back down to earth when there's enough film and enough tape and enough game plans that have been put together. And over the last couple weeks, I feel like Purdy's had, maybe a little bit tougher of a time getting through some of these defenses. So, at the same time, Joe Burrow doesn't look the same as he's been. He hasn't been very good as he typically has historically been, throwing further down the field, 20 plus yards down the field as of late this season. It's kind of been spotty, to say the least. So, this is swinging back and forth. At one point, I was thinking to myself, oh yeah, I love the Bengals plus 5.5, or I think it was at 6.5 at one point, getting plus 6.5. Then it went back down to 5.5, and then I feel like it maybe overcorrected where I was leaning San Francisco back and forth, and I was like, nah, I'm not going to touch this one. Too many things that I just don't trust about either, mostly Cincinnati, but both of these teams. And so I left it alone, didn't make a bet on it. I didn't feel great about it, but you have a best bet.
Yeah, I do have Cincinnati minus 5.5, and yes, again, I know
they're plus
now,
plus 5
plus. Or I'm sorry, plus 5.5. I was literally reading the screen in the bottom corner that said minus 5.5 for some reason. Plus 5.5 on Cincinnati. I know it's down to 2 points, but can we just talk about Can we put to bed Brock Purdy MVP discussions? This is how little Vegas thinks of Brock Purdy. 2 weeks ago, prior to the last two losses, there was a ton of people hyping Brock Purdy for MVP. 2 weeks later, the line when they find out he's out and they're moving on to Sam Darnold moves 2 points. 2 points.
Bruh.
Dude's a jag, okay? He's just a guy. And with a ton of talent surrounding him, no doubt about it, which helps a ton. Great coach, great talent, and he's kind of just the facilitator. He's the, I don't want to say John Stockton because that probably gives him too much credit, but he puts the ball where it needs to be at the right time, and is a smart guy, but talent-wise, not a lot there. And when I say smart, hasn't looked the smartest the last 2 weeks with some questionable. I mean, he had some bad picks on Monday night. Now maybe he was concussed for some of those. Perhaps now it sounds like. But well, either way, we can put that to bed. Bengals, though, for me, like coming off a bye, I think this, and hopefully, and really my mentality when it was with Purdy was like, this is a chance for the Bengals. I think they maybe at times have been bored with like not playing in the big game moments or this, and this obviously would be a marquee big game and a big matchup. And so I thought they would show up coming off their bye week. Hopefully Burrow's healthy, T. Higgins is right, Jamar Chase, like you get your weapons. You look like a semblance of what you have the last few years on offense, and you keep this game at least close. 49ers should still be without Deebo Samuel. It sounds like that was at least 2 week thing for him. So you're, missing your number 2 threat at wideout and kind of relying on Brandon Ayuk and George Kittle in the passing game, along with Christian McCaffrey in the passing game. But who, by the way, played and looked like Christian McCaffrey on Monday night. But reckoning as would the 49ers be 5-2 with Helen Keller at QB? That's an interesting thought.
If someone could teach Helen Keller football and throwing the ball, then yeah.
If you can fly a plane, you can quarterback the 49ers, Chris.
It's true. Yeah.
Cuban said Purdy is Trevor Siemian without all the raw talent.
That's my quarterback.
But yeah, like it's weird. Like, and one of the things that I said that they're starting to catch up on tape with some recipes to like mess with Brock Purdy's success is. The teams know that he can't scramble very well. He's not great running around outside the pocket. So they only rush 3, maybe drop the 4th into a zone to keep an eye on him if he goes out, of the pocket or whatever. And then they end up just, dropping him into coverage and kind of, messing with things on the defensive side from that standpoint too. And it's been working the last couple of weeks. The Browns did it a little bit as well. So it's like, yeah, I mean, there's starting to be a little bit more tape on Brock Purdy, and we'll see how it ends up.
And I know we've talked about this with the 49ers before. It's going to be fascinating to figure out what they try and do in the offseason to re-sign Brandon Ayuk. Ayuk is so under. Ayuk, thus far this year, has been like a borderline top 5 wide receiver in the league. Like, he's better than Deebo, by the way. I would if I'm starting a franchise and I could choose between Ayuk and Deebo, I'm taking Ayuk. I think he has more big game capability, like big play capability. I don't need a wide receiver that can also run the ball from the backfield sometimes and be effective. I don't care about that. Why don't I just have a running back do that? Give me Ayuk all day. It'll be fascinating to see because like they've poured a lot of money into a lot of different stars. So maybe they have the greatest cap guru of all time and they can somehow get Ayuk under contract. And I'm sure they'll try. But with the season Ayuk's having, there's going to be a lot of other suitors in the offseason.
100%. All right. Well, there you go. 49ers, Bengals should be an interesting one. I want wide receiver who can also kick field goals, says Cuban. Hey,
that would be far more important.
That would be incredible.
That frees up a roster spot right there.
Yeah.
Now, Sky, did you see the question posed in the Discord earlier?
Maybe, but remind me what it was.
If there was like some big NFL like redraft kind of thing, For the first pick, would you take Patrick Mahomes as he is right now, or a kicker that's 22 years old and is automatic from 65 and less?
Like 100%? Like never miss?
Yes. Never miss from 65 and less.
If I have Patrick
Patrick Mahomes
Mahomes,
right now.
if I have Patrick Mahomes on my roster, why do I need a kicker?
Not last year, 2 years ago, Patrick Mahomes. This year's Mahomes.
This year, the guy that's front runner for MVP odds, Mahomes, that guy. Currently,
The guy
in the
that's,
NFL,
guy that's not even top 5 in passing yards.
he's third in passing yards, I believe.
I have
I
a
think
feeling.
he's only behind. I think he's only behind Tua and Kirk. If you want to actually check that again,
I have a feeling Scotty's going Patrick Mahomes.
yeah, well, of course
Are
I'm
you
going
sure?
Patrick. Anyone who takes a kicker over Patrick Mahomes, listen, a kicker that's automatic from 65 and in, I'd say is worth how many points a season compared to, let's say, a league average kicker that from 45 and in is probably close to 90%, and from plus that, let's say there's 65%. Like, that's still, there's a ton of really good kicker. People just sleep on how good the kicking game is, and like, because there are odd misses, but like, kickers have never been better. There's such a separation from the best, from Patrick Mahomes to QB2 in my mind. That's a wild question to me.
I mean, if you think about it, you're guaranteed 3 points if you get pretty much over midfield. So no matter what, if you have a quarterback that could get you over midfield, you're guaranteed 3 points over and over and over again, much less a touchdown if you happen to get a touchdown.
Which even Kenny Pickett can do that.
So defensive stops, let's say, I'm just playing devil's advocate. I probably would take Patrick Mahomes as well, but I mean that's a lot of guaranteed points past midfield that add up real quick over the course of a game. I don't know. I mean, I'm probably taking Patrick Mahomes.
I mean, to be clear, Patrick Mahomes is third in passing yards over the course of the season with only Tua and Kirk. He's like 80 yards behind. Not even 80. It's less yards behind Tua, who leads the league. But if you go total yards, you include rushing yards in there, he's number one because he's got another 214 on the ground this year, where Kirk Cousins has like 16 and Tua has 18. So actual yards from scrimmage, Patrick Mahomes leads the league.
Kelsey will win MVP, and Taylor Swift's head will explode with the greatest fireworks show of all time. Yes.
Such a good love story, Chris.
It's such a good. I finally
You're
saw
so in love.
I finally saw a little kiss on the cheek picture and everything else.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's that. It's legit. It's legit.
I mean, you don't just buy a $6 million home if you're not in love, right? And everyone's like, "Oh, it's for the publicity." Well, he bought this home to get out of it, into a gated community where the press couldn't be outside his house. This is real, Chris. This is real, true love. And
It sounds like there's teardrops on her guitar.
they're gonna have babies one day.
Little Kelsey babies.
Kelsey's running around.
Well,
to hang out with Jason Kelsey's
actually, it's a
kids.
good question. Will she'll probably keep her name? Will he take her name when they get married?
No, they'll both keep their own name.
She's bigger. She's bigger than him.
Yeah, well, neither are changing their name, but their kids will be Kelsey's.
Travis Swift has a nice little ring to it. $6 million home. How many bathrooms does it have? Russell Wilson.
And keep in mind, a $6 million home in Kansas City, which would be that's like a $100 million home in like New York.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Seriously, it's the standards are
$6 million
different.
homes in Kansas City. The housing market's a little softer there.
Hometown baby Swift.
Just a little bit.
Baby Kelsey's.
Baby Kelsey's. They'll be Swifties. All right, so let's get to the next matchup here. Scotty, we have the Cleveland Browns visiting Seattle Seahawks. Cleveland -3.5 in this particular game. Total.
Oh, wait. That's not right.
I was about to say,
Did
Yeah,
you?
there's
It's
no
the
way
other
in
way
hell they should
around.
be minus
It's the other way.
3.5.
It's the other way around.
Is
Did I
it-
butcher that? I think Seattle's minus 3.5.
Uh,
Sorry.
Yeah,
All right.
I just checked on my best bet. Seattle's currently minus 3.
Oh, okay,
it was
okay.
supposed to be
Because there's no way in
Seattle.
hell
My bad.
PJ.
So yeah,
There's no way in hell
so
PJ Walker's getting favored by 3.5.
Yeah. Yeah.
so 3.5 here set for the Seattle Seahawks actually. So the Cleveland Browns getting plus 3.5 in this one. Over under set at 38 is the current line now, 38.5. So that's still the same as well. But this one, Seattle's defense is good against the run, and that's all the Browns can really do. And even regardless of who's playing quarterback, Deshaun or PJ Walker, they're not going to be able to necessarily use that to their advantage here against Seattle's defense. So there's some struggles going on with that aspect of this one. I mean, last week, the Browns have just been kind of a weird team. Like, there were 3 PIs and a defensive holding call or something last week that gave the Browns... They gave the Browns the game pretty much against the Colts last week. So, the Browns could have been on the L with that game last week with the Indianapolis Colts. But on the other flip side, Scotty, you have the offensive line of Seattle, which is like, it's brutal. And they're going to struggle against the defensive line of this Browns team. So I just don't think Geno's going to be super effective here, which is why I just think this line makes the most sense of the fact that it's 38.5. I don't think Seattle's going to be able
That's
to...
a good line.
I don't think Seattle's going to necessarily be able to score a ton, and I don't think the Browns with that quarterback and not being able to run the ball against the Seahawks is going to be very effective too. This could be a sloppy, just terrible, low-scoring game. I mean, I don't want to lean under 38.5, but I just don't see how this gets any points top to bottom. So, I mean, if I had to lean in this one, I would maybe... If I had to lean aside, maybe it's Cleveland plus 3.5 in a low-scoring game where I think that even if they get some offensive movement from the quarterback position downfield, just using their arm, maybe it's stays a little closer, but I stayed away from this one.
Listen, I'll talk a little bit about the game here, but I really want to talk about something outside the game that involves one of these teams. That happened this week, which is hilarious.
I think I know where you're
the
going.
game itself, Seattle had like 15 guys on their injury list that either were DNPs or limited in practice today, and all of them are starters. Or the 8 who didn't practice, the 8 that are DNPs, all starters. So there's a little bit of concern there from my vantage point with Seattle getting the number here. I know PJ Walker is going to be going again. Cleveland has, been able to eat up bad offenses. Obviously had a weird game where the defense did not show up last week. What was the final? What was it? 39-38?
Yeah.
Against
The Colts.
Gardner Minshew led Colts team. So that was a little odd.
In a game that had plenty of football.
Yeah. How good is the Browns defense? I don't know. I think they were a little overhyped coming into last week, and maybe now they're settling back in because, obviously Myles Garrett's a monster, and they have other pieces too. But I don't know. I don't know if they're elite of the elite. Seattle, you're right with that offensive line, but they have won 4 of their last 5, and the one they lost at Cincinnati, they had the ball twice, down 4 in the red zone, and couldn't get it done, couldn't get a score on the board, and losing that one. So they've been pretty good overall. So this one will be interesting. Should be a close. You're right. It could be obviously at 38.5. That's a crazy low number, low scoring kind of battle here. But I want to talk about the Brady Quinn.
Yeah, I knew you were going to go here.
It's my quarterback.
Brady.
For those of you who don't know, Brady Quinn, former quarterback, now
Does college stuff.
Mostly does college stuff for Fox Sports. On his radio show, or on our radio show, I think, with LeVar Arrington, basically said, and I quote, "Everyone with a medical opinion has cleared Deshaun Watson. The situation is almost similar to a kid getting a $230 million trust fund. You ask them to get a job and they have no incentive to do it. And listen, I don't know as far as everyone clearing whether that's true or not with Deshaun Watson and his arm injury, rotator cuff, whatever it is. Obviously he started last week, threw 5 times, threw a bad pick, and then was gone from the game. So, and I don't think that was anybody but himself pulling him from the game at that point. So, but that's what you get for giving a fully guaranteed contract. First of all, if you're gonna do it, maybe don't start with Deshaun Watson. I don't know.
That's my quarterback.
There's some character and judgment concerns out there. So of course, after hearing this, Deshaun Watson's personal private QB coach, so not a QB coach on the Browns, but like his personal one that he works with in the offseason and whatnot.
Similar to what
Quincy
Russ
Avery
does. You know, Russ has his own personal group too.
Yeah,
you know?
well, he's got his old team, you know.
Yeah.
Quincy Avery comes out and says, Brady, I'm going to be real. You don't know what the fuck you were talking about and sit behind a microphone gossiping like a little high school chick. I don't know if he's just trying to say Brady Quinn's really attractive or what.
Yeah,
I don't know what the end of that was.
Yeah.
So Brady Quinn kind of responds, come talk to me anytime you want in person, open invitation. Quincy responds, I just seen you Saturday, which could work on. Never mind. I don't have anything I want to talk to you about. I'm telling you, you are talking about things you don't know. Talking on another man who doesn't know you is weak. Brady responds, LOL, well, I didn't see you. When Quincy Avery said he saw him on Saturday, he's like, I didn't see you. And Quincy Avery's like, point being. And so at this point, the conversation's going nowhere, right? And Brady's like, let's just wrap this up. So he's like, listen, how about we massage this conversation and get into a happy ending?
God.
Does that sound satisfactory?
Yeah. Mic drop.
I love it.
Mic drop.
I love it.
Brady.
I love it, Brady Quinn.
I mean,
I respect him so much more now.
yeah, Brady.
I kind of liked him before, but now I like him even more.
Yeah, it's crazy. Minions are congratulatory, required to say stuff like that for their boss. Well, like, I mean, at that point, you better be able to back up and just not get destroyed by Brady Quinn in the grand scheme of that whole conversation, trying to defend your boy, right? But yeah. I mean, Brady Quinn out there just doing God's work, you know.
Clearly, the Notre Dame boy is close with God and doing what we all like and want to see.
Pretty much, he's saying what everyone else is thinking. So hey. If you got to catch a couple strays from Brady Quinn, look out. He's coming.
Oh, one more note. Seahawks did add a player today, Chris. Free agency.
Oh, was it Frank Clark?
Frank Clark.
Yeah, Frank Clark.
Who a lot of rumors that I heard and out there that he would rejoin the Chiefs. But I think he was kind of waiting on the Chiefs to like pull the trigger, and I think the Chiefs are kind of pretty happy with where they're at.
I think, yeah. I mean, why would you mess up a good situation when you have one of the best, if not the best defense in the NFL so far this season? You don't need to throw a wrench into that. Like, just...
Yeah. I mean, their pass rushes look pretty good. I just think they wanted to go younger and let some of these guys, you know, see what they can do for sure. So, Frank Clark back to... It's, you know, still an old friend alert. Frank Clark obviously played with Seattle prior to Kansas City. So headed back to his old squad, and we'll see if he can make a mark and help that team make a playoff run.
Brady is making all these comments while still sitting in the draft room. I mean, yes.
I mean, Brady Quinn was drafted relatively high and then just didn't really pan out, you know, but looked good.
Yeah, it was just one of the...
Very handsome man. I'll say it.
Naga, in my opinion, Jacoby was a better quarterback than Watson. I mean, Jacoby.
I don't think that's even an opinion.
Like Jacoby, I mean, there are certain quarterbacks that just.
Jacoby's Tyrod. He's a modern day Tyrod. He's a younger Tyrod.
I was going to get to that here in a little bit, actually, about Tyrod, and he's in that I wouldn't say he's close to being in that same category as a Tyrod, where like you always call on him and he always comes in and he's serviceable. And you're never truly like disappointed because your expectations are always so low. But you're never going to get a high ceiling, but he's going to keep, a solid floor for your team. So, it is what it is. I'm considering Frank Clark part of the Rush trade. Yeah. All right, here we go. Rec, your boys here hosting the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, Jacksonville -2.5 here in this spot. Total set at 42. Rec, I'm going to let you go first on this one to break this down. I have some thoughts as well from a best bet standpoint in this game. But I want to get your thoughts first, and then Scotty and I will break this one down.
Well, of course, first of all, obvious. Jags pretty much have a better offense than the Steelers. Steelers have a better defense overall. I mean, you can break this down all kinds of different ways. Home field, the Jaguars possibly being tired despite the long bye. At the end of the day, the Jaguars own the Steelers. This game terrifies me. Even if the Jaguars were or they were winless, this game would terrify me. I wouldn't touch this with at least on the Steelers side, I wouldn't touch this with a 10-foot pole. The over doesn't look too bad in this case. But Steelers overall have been improving week to week. They look better. The Jaguars are starting to get rolling a little bit. They're starting to look like what we expected them. But yeah, if I had to pick a side, I'm taking Jaguars.
Which is why I'm on the Steelers. Which is why my best bet of the week is your boys, Pittsburgh. I'm so glad you said that you would be on the Jaguars side in this one. So this is one of my best bets of the week that I locked in here for a few reasons. I mean, one, betting Mike Tomlin trends when he's a dog at home. Like, there's crazy numbers to back up how effective and winnable this game is from a against the spread perspective. Nonetheless, just how well the Steelers have been playing over the last quarter. Well, with an asterisk, how well they've been playing. They got back Deontay Johnson. So Deontay Johnson takes some pressure off of Pickens, which, historically, when all of these guys are in there, typically have had success for Kenny Pickett to spread the ball around. You can have guys get open a little bit more. But the Jags, I'm waiting for the wheels to just fall off of like this. I talked about it in the last show where they've just been cruising through since the London games. They've just been like winning games, and it's just been like, I think they have their bye week coming up. I think next week. They just need to get to the bye week at some point here coming up. So it's like they're trying to get to that, get healthy again. But they have weaknesses in their secondary. Derek Carr threw for 300 yards on him. And you have a team with a lot of wide receiver options for Kenny Pickett here in this one. Defensively, I think the Steelers' defense can make things tough for Trevor Lawrence with a questionable offensive line. Pittsburgh's wins against the Rams, Ravens, and Browns. I mean, I think we look at the strength of schedule here for the Pittsburgh Steelers like, all right, well, they got some decent wins against some decent teams here. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, so a team that's not good in the secondary with Deontay Johnson, Pickens, decent wide receiver core, opening things up. It's just, I have to take the number +2.5, along with all of those betting Mike Tomlin trends of the fact that he is just very, very good as a home underdog. Scotty, what do you think?
I don't have a bet in this game. I don't have a great feel on either side. I frankly would kind of want to bet against both teams. Like if they were playing other opponents, I might like to. Because I think both are a little overinflated, at least public opinion right now. When you look at their records of Jags 5-2 and Pittsburgh 4-2,
and the money's coming in on the Jags. The money has to be coming in on the Jags in this spot.
I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's true. You get a lot of public seeing a Steelers team that's 4-2, and you just talked about beat some good teams. I will warn you, they're 4-2 and a minus 24 point differential in the season. So
Yeah.
this is a team that, you know, when I look at my Vegas guru that ranks the teams and puts, you know, a point total based off, you know, average being 0, he has Pittsburgh at minus 2.5. Minus 2.5, like 2.5 points worse than an average football team, which is tied with Las Vegas, New England, and Tampa Bay. Okay, so and maybe that's a little too low, but at the same time, that is where he has them. Now he only has Jacksonville as 1.5 points better than an average football team, which I think a lot of people would rank them a little higher based off, you know, the hype coming into the season, and they are 5-2, winners of 4 straight after a 1-2 start. Now they do have they played last Thursday, so they get a little extra time to rest after kind of a gauntlet of games, being back-to-back weeks in London, coming back, having a game here, and then having to play Thursday night following that. Pretty wild schedule for them.
It's a wild schedule.
And you know, I don't know enough about this, but they do have their bye following this game. So does that mean, you know, some teams see the bye week and they're like, all right, so we can put everything at this game and we're going to give everything we got because we get a week off. Some teams are thinking about what they're going to do in their bye week and don't show up to that game right before the bye week.
Planning it all out, yeah.
Yeah, we'll see what the Jags do, but being 5-2, I would hope they're focused and ready to go in this game. As far as the Steelers, Chris, they're just we did see, to Rex's credit, like a little glimpse in the second half of the Rams game this past week of an offense that maybe can wake up, but prior to that second half, they've been dog shit all year on offense. Dog shit. And that's putting it kindly, in my opinion. So, you know, I have to see more of it before I'm going to believe in that offense. I need to see more than a half. They've won some games that they've, you know, kind of got some breaks. I mean, they got to me, a lot of breaks in that Cleveland game. Probably didn't deserve to win that one, although really neither team deserved to win that one. I don't have a great feeling this one, Chris. I want to bet against both teams, so
that's fair.
I'll stay away from this one and just.
What team would you lean? If you had to choose, where would you lean?
At 2.5, it's literally this close for me. At 2.5, I'd probably lean Jacksonville. At 3, I'd probably lean Pittsburgh. It's that close because I think then Pittsburgh could have like push potential. At least.
Yeah.
P3, you spent all your bits. We got to earn them or roll them back up. Earn them back up. But the only thing that worries me a little bit in this one is just the weather standpoint. It's supposed to be light rain, light drizzles, which I don't love for like the passing game for the Steelers. But then again, you know, small hands, you know, wet balls
doesn't mean anything.
Small hands, wet balls, you know, it's a recipe for disaster.
But he wears protection on his hand, Chris. So
he wears protection on his hand, but when you got wet balls, just
I actually think bad weather would be an advantage to the Steelers.
I'll take
it's Jacksonville.
Yeah,
I don't play in a lot of bad weather games.
True. So all right,
there's been a lot of hot weather.
Yeah. So all right, well there you go, Steelers Jags. Next up, Broncos and Chiefs.
Oh boy.
Woo! Again?
Head to head. Scotty, I feel like we just had this conversation. Could we just go back to our last preview and just clip that and put that in place of what this preview is going to be? Because it's pretty much the same exact thing. We're not really changing much here. We got a big spread here for Kansas City. Kansas City minus 7.5. Over under set at 46. I didn't bet this game. I don't want anything with this game. If I had anything, it would probably, based off of last week, the Chiefs, they're starting to cover spreads like as of last week against especially a team like the Chargers, which are always close games, and the Chargers always cover. And I mean, maybe the Chiefs, and this is where we were talking about Sunday, where is this the point where they've turned the corner and they're starting to click? But then I also think that they play with their food, Scotty. The Chiefs don't need to bring out all the stops against the Broncos. They don't need to go crazy. They just need to get in, get a win, and get out. If they have to exert themselves, they will, if needed. But they probably won't need to. And this could be a closer game than people think. So, Broncos got this. Yeah, no. Not from a winning standpoint, they don't. The streak is going to continue. 17 games, I believe, at this point.
That's perfect season.
Perfect
Woo!
season. So I'm not touching this bet game from a betting perspective, but Chiefs should win this game.
Yeah.
Leaving the sides out of it.
I'm on the Chiefs. I got them at 7 flat, but I'm going to this game, Chris. Excited to go. Unfortunately, it's gonna be cold though, which is not ideal. It's been so nice here in Denver for like all of October, and it's this week. It's like 70s
It's the
all week.
only bad weekend.
Literally Saturday and Sunday turn into like snow, and like the high on Sunday is supposed to be like 30. I'm like, sweet. But I'll be there. Mahomes at one point has said during games, snow games, if it is a snow game, that he's a snow game guy. He's a snow guy. And part of me is like, he has historically played really well in snow games, but also almost all of his snow games are against Denver. So maybe it's just actually he owns Denver. Like, maybe it has nothing to do with the snow, but we'll see. I'm on KC -7. This Broncos team like gets a win in ugly fashion against Green Bay, but I kind of feel like worst case scenario, the Chiefs push this one. Like literally everyone in Denver after the Chiefs won by 11 and were up 16-0 in the third quarter on the Broncos. Everyone was just like, I can't believe the Broncos hung in that close. Like that's incredible. And now we get it at 7. I don't care that it's in Denver. I expect the Chiefs to kind of roll in this one. This feels like, I don't know, Peyton's a dick, and I just don't see him being ready for what the Chiefs have to offer. The Chiefs are, I saw a stat, and maybe some others saw it. They are top 5 in PFF ranks, at least, I think, in offense, defense, and special teams. And there's only been like 6 teams in history that have been that through the first 7 weeks of the year. And 6 of those teams won the Super Bowl, Chris, so, or something like that. Anyway, this Chiefs team all of a sudden is coming together. Travis Kelce is being the dude we thought he would be after missing week 1 and like obviously wasn't healthy week 2 and kind of barely played and didn't look right. Still outpacing on a per game pace every other tight end in fantasy by 5 points at his age 34 season. He's going to be a first team All Pro again, and he wrapped up Taylor Swift. So big year for Kelce.
Big year for Kelce.
And we'll see if T Sizzle's in the crowd on Sunday. But if she is, I'll try and get up into that suite, guys.
Tell her hi for me. P3 in the chat. Media is going to eat it up. You got Taylor Swift, Kelce dude, and his brother, Taylor Swift, in the middle of everything because she's from Philadelphia, blah, blah. That joke was Taylor made for the Swift fans. Hi-oh.
Hi-oh.
Let's see. Chiefs will roll harder than any of their extreme fans on a Wednesday.
I don't know. They've had some extreme fans, Cuban, as you know.
Most of which are probably in prison or on their way. One of the two.
Could be dead. I don't know.
And hey,
You robbed them of that joke.
and P3, P3, congrats on just, hanging out with that girl. As long as you guys are still hanging out, good for you. No, nobody tell you about that other ex-boyfriend that Taylor Swift had. No. X Factor and Red Extreme. Cuban's never going to let us forget the super fans for Kansas City.
I like that he pulls out those two before Casey Wolf.
Casey Wolf, too. Yeah.
Yeah, that's Babadar. That dude is the craziest of all. Just robbing banks to go to games.
All right, let's get into this next one. Rams and Cowboys. Dallas hosting the Rams here, favored by 6.5 in this game. Total set to 45. And you know what's weird is this wasn't it the Rams that came in a while back and beat the Cowboys in Dallas? I can't remember. I don't know why I remember these two teams playing in Dallas and the Rams put it to them a little bit. But this one for me, Dallas, I feel is fairly good at home, and I don't have any major bets in this one. Lean would be Dallas minus 6.5, knowing they could probably win this one by about a touchdown. But given the fact that the Rams have so many offensive weapons and the Cowboys' defensive backfield, it's fine. It could be a lot better had they not had a lot of the injuries early on in the season. Just not enough for me to make a bet on this one. Over under again set at 45. So kind of an average scoring game here. Not much of a feel on this one outside of maybe a lean Cowboys minus 6.5.
Yeah, I'm on the same page. I'm a lean Dallas at 6.5. This Rams team is kind of hard to figure out, and they do some nice things offensively and put up some big numbers, but they have too many minus plays. That offensive line doesn't hold up, and Stafford gets sacked, which is why they can't piece together a lot of high scoring games. They put up stats and you're like, oh, they must have scored a ton. And you're like, oh no, they put up 17 last week against the Steelers, or 14 against the Eagles a couple weeks back, or 16 against the Bengals. They just have these inconsistent performances mixed in with some decent ones. So Dallas is definitely the better team here. As long as they can, it would help obviously if they had Trayvon Diggs on the back, but people don't sleep on Deron Bland. Deron Bland has been a phenomenal corner, and frankly, if Trayvon Diggs is healthy, that'd be certainly a top 5 cornerback duo in the league.
His style's kind of bland.
Yeah, well, he's the opposite of Sauce, but I think it works just fine for him. Stephon Gilmore's still there, so they got pieces in the secondary. So, yeah, I would lean Dallas. I'm a little mad at
Can the Vikings
Mike
actually
Parsons
beat
right
the
now.
Packers in Lambeau?
Hey,
Lambo,
Evil,
thank
let's
you.
go. Welcome. Thank you for the 200 bits. Let's go. That is way generous, Evil. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the bits. Can the Vikings actually beat the Packers in Lambeau? We'll talk about. Actually, I want to talk about that here in a little bit.
It's.
I think you said the name right.
Is it one of our games?
It's
one of our games, isn't it?
I don't know if it's one of our games, but I will be talking about that one in a little bit.
Yeah, I do.
I would say the spread on that is a pick 'em.
It's gone back and forth. By the way, it's swung both directions. So people are all over the place with this one, but I am on one particular side. Hometown. I need the Rams to shut the Cowboys fans the hell up. There's so many of them, and they're so obnoxious. Hey, Cowboys fans are everywhere. They got that up.
To be clear, if they lose this game, they will not shut up.
No. Either way.
There are so many of them, they're obnoxious, but they haven't won anything in 30 years, and they're still obnoxious. They're not going anywhere.
They're not, yeah. They're going to be here for the long haul. Then Cubans go Puka Malato? Puka Kachua? Puka Maluka?
Yeah.
Yep.
Chris, I think all those were
all accurate.
pronunciations you've said before on this.
Yeah, I try to go as many as possible. So yeah, guys, strong lean here. Well, I'm just a lean, not strongly, just a lean. If we were to pick, both of us kind of agree on Dallas -6.5. But since we agree on it, maybe it's not a thing. Eagles and Commanders. Eagles visiting the Commanders. Spread on this one -6.5 for Philadelphia. Again, this is similar to the last game. Don't have a great feel of this one. Commanders last time they played the Eagles kept it super close. So I think that's playing into this one a little bit more. But Philadelphia, again, -6.5 over-under set at 43.5. Washington plus 235. You're getting a little over 2-1 odds on your money betting the money line for Washington. So, Scotty, what are your thoughts on this one?
I mean, I don't have a great feel in this one. Philly, I think Washington's been exposed recently. They're not very good at all. Philly should control this game, but as you said, a few weeks back in Philadelphia, this game went into overtime before Philly pulled it out. And if you recall, going back to last year, Washington was the first team to beat Philly after Philly started, I think, like 9-0, losing on, I think it was a Monday Night Football game against Washington, who wasn't a very good team last year. So for whatever reason, Washington matches up well or plays well or has a good game plan or whatever it may be against Philadelphia to stay close in these games. Otherwise, I'd be like, let's just roll with Philly at 6.5 and go. But because of these last few games and the way the Commanders have been able to stay competitive, but all at the same time, maybe the Eagles are more prepared after having to fight and claw for a win earlier this season in overtime. Maybe now they focus a little more and they're ready to go. I still think, Philly, they come off a big win Sunday night against Miami, a nice win. I still don't know that they're playing to the level they were last year. So they did have a nice pickup this week, Chris, trading for Kevin Byard.
Yeah,
to say his name for whatever reason.
You got it right the second time.
From Tennessee, right?
Yeah, Titans didn't have to give up much for him.
Surely this is the only time the Eagles have fleeced the Titans.
I can think of another one. I can think of another if you want.
No other time that they fleeced the Titans. I can't think of any time.
Yeah, nothing's coming to mind. But if you know, you know.
But yeah, Philly should control this game, but Washington's been able to hang with them. So maybe there's a shocker in this one, Chris.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't want to be on either side of this one. So again, I'll let the shock factor happen without my money being on this game, but it'll be one I'll be keeping a close eye on for sure. Refs had a good money on that last Philly game. 0 flags. WTF. Yeah. Well,
I'm taking the comments here.
That's true. Philly had some benefit of some calls in that game for sure, but I also think people complaining about that is a little bit loser's mentality.
Yeah, I could see this as being another close game. So if I had a lean, maybe Commanders plus 6.5. If it gets to 7 or 7.5, I feel great about the Commanders taking that side of the spread. But I just don't know if it's going to get there. All right, so there you go. Those are the games, but that doesn't mean we don't have games that we didn't cover.
I'll be right back on a code yellow, Chris.
We'll get to code. Yeah, we'll go to spam code yellow in the chat for Scotty as he takes a little bit of a break. I mean, not one flag is insane. I watched a clear face mask and I'm a Vikings fan. Yeah,
I think I remember that about that face mask.
Yeah.
So I'll go and warn you on your Steelers bet. I'm 3-0 when I bet on the Steelers and 1-2 when I don't touch it.
You're 3-0 when you bet on the Steelers and 0-1 when you don't touch it? Or
1-2 when I don't touch it.
And did you touch anything with it?
I did not touch this game in the slightest.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll see. Scott's always peeing, says WD. Yeah.
Old man bladder.
He stays hydrated. Let's just put it that way. Is Josh Allen good or bad? He's good.
It depends on the week.
He's
depends on the
good. The problem is the sum of the parts that are around him, especially on the defensive side of the football. They're missing so many playmakers on the defensive side of the football. It's just hard for them to be competitive in some of these games. By the way, guys, shout out. We need to make sure if we have fans for the Chargers. I think we have a Bears fan already for Sunday night.
Was it a Joey?
Yeah, I think it was. Special Joey. I think was our Bears fan.
Yeah, I think it was him.
If you are
I don't see him
interested,
in here, though.
anybody, if you are interested, we got to probably DM him after the show or this week leading up to it to make sure he's in.
I don't see him in the Discord. I don't even see him in the Discord. I don't know if he's in.
I thought he was in the Discord, but anyways, we might need a Chicago fan as well. Sunday Night Football watch along. We are doing our fan face off with Chicago and the LA Chargers. If you are fans of each of any of those teams, or if you are just want to be a part of the fan face off, let us know. But you have to be in the Discord so we can get you in on the show. Exclamation point Discord in the chat there's the link right there. Also, tomorrow night, I will be doing a playback.tv for the NBA matchups. We have Lakers, Suns, and we have... What was the other one? Lakers, Suns, and...
No, I zoned out for MB.
Who's playing tomorrow? NBA. Lakers, Suns, and Philly and Milwaukee. So 2 fantastic games for tomorrow's stream. We won't be on Twitch. We're going to be on playback.tv. Exclamation point live is how you can get in and join in. There you go. Thanks, Rick. Double action there in the chat. Click on that. Follow our little ActionLab sports room, and we will make sure we can talk and watch the actual game. We will be able to watch these games live with you and have commentary, talk about the game, everything in between. So make sure you tune in. Is it LeBron too old to play? Well, we found out last night he is too old to play because he can't play more than 30 minutes in a night. So
he's a shell.
He's a shell.
But for his age, very impressive.
Sacramento Kings. Damn, look at that. In the score bot. Sacramento Kings defeat the Jazz 130 to 114. Sacramento picking up where they left off, scoring 1 million points every night. According to Chris, LeBron is dead. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. He was a part of the 72 Dolphins.
Once you hit the 72, yeah, it's